like I said, does a really good job of just getting that sheep put together in terms of getting set up. And where he really excels is just on the front end. He's just a lot quicker. He's more just comfortable getting that sheep where it needs to be. The young lady does a good job of getting that sheep set up. Does a good job of keeping it square, keeping the head up, just not as quick as him. When I come in to get a handle, probably just don't get quite the brace, just not quite as comfortable getting that sheep around as what he is. But two really good showmen. Let's give them all a round of applause.
We have two classes of intermediate, so we're just going to pick a few from this class, a few from the next class, and then they'll be coming back for overall intermediate champion.
As we get into this first class here, there's multiple heats, so we're going to go ahead and keep some. So I pulled these three over. I think a lot like we talked about in the first class, I think just a little bit of extra comfort around the front end, a little bit quicker at getting those feet set. But let's go ahead and give everybody in this class a big round of applause. Really good class.
Coming back from this class will be Haley Roy, Garen Lawson, and Claire Foley. We're ready for class 2 of our intermediate division, ages 12 to 15. I need Eli Johnson, Gavin Stuchel, Veda Walsh, Kylie Frankhauser, Lainey Ramada, Payson Barner, and Cameron Hayes. This is just a test. This is just a test. Testing. Testing. Testing.
Once again, as we move into this next group here, really good set of showmen all the way down through. I think the ones that we pulled over to this side, really good just in terms of getting those sheep set up, really good on the front ends, getting them braced, getting a good look. Really just a little bit smoother, a little bit quicker, getting everything put together. Let's go ahead and give them all a big round of applause.
Okay, coming back for our intermediate champion drive, we're going to have Gavin Stuchel, Payson Varner, and Cameron Hayes from that class. intermediate champion and reserve, I need Haley Roy, Garen Lawson, Claire Foley, Gavin Stuchel, Payson Garner, and Cameron Hayes, please.
Let's go ahead and give all these kids a big round of applause. I think a really good set of showmen. I think everybody that made it back in here, obviously, knows what they're doing. They've been, around some sheep. They've been to some shows before. They're very comfortable with these lambs. I think when we get out here, it just comes down to some personal preferences, some small differences. I do think in this top three, probably my closest placing was 2 and 3. I think the young lady that wins does so fairly handily within this class. I think her consistency throughout the class and just having that lamb looking the way it needs to be the entire time in terms of just getting that front end looking right, holding that head the way it needs to be. I think there was probably a time or two, really the only thing I would change. You probably got that lamb stretched just a little bit. He got that one back leg closer to me, just a little bit farther back. It broke his loin just a little bit. But I think other than that, that 1 or 2 times he did that, every time I look at that sheep, the front end is really good. When I come in to handle, really good. Gets around the ring in terms of just motion and smoothness. Really good job. Then we get into second and third here. And I think both of these two do a really, really good job. I think they both have some advantages. They both have some faults. And this was a really close pair for me. The young man, I think probably what gets you with the young lady is consistency. That sheep looks about the same every time I see her. The biggest thing that we need to kind of work on, and I'm sure you've worked on this all year, but she wants to sink down in that front end. We got to be able to do something to, I don't know if you could stretch her out just a notch more, but she's pulling that front end down. The neck doesn't come out of the shoulders exactly the way it needs to be. It causes her just to hump up just a little bit. So I don't know if you could get her stretched just a little bit more to kind of fix that. But that's the big thing. I just never really felt like I got the best look out of that sheep's front end. But other than that, when I come in to handle that sheep, really good brace. You're really smooth. You're really calm. Do a lot of really, really good things. The young lady that's going to go ahead and be third here, she might do as good a job as anybody in this class. On the front end, the way she holds the head. Just keeping that nose down, that head coming out at a 90-degree angle. My difference between her and the two ahead of her is just consistency in the feet placement. There's too many times on the front end of that sheep where I look at him, if I get around in front or I come from behind, his front legs are too close together. They're coming out of the same hole. He just doesn't really look the way he needs to in terms of that. And then as far as just setting that sheep up, there were some times where you probably got him stretched a little bit too far. There's times where his back legs weren't exactly the way they needed to be. You just need to get him square more often compared to the two that beat you. But you do a really nice job as well. And then as we work down into third, or fourth, fifth, sixth here, I think all three of these do a really nice job, especially here in fourth and fifth. Just in terms of getting in front of those sheep, getting them braced, getting them set up. You do a really good job and are comparable to the two that we have ahead of you there. Probably just some small things. I think both of you get those lambs maybe just stretched or just over pushing just a little bit. You get those noses up in the air. It causes the top lines just to kind of break a little bit. You're just not quite as consistent, quite as square at just getting that sheep exactly the way it needs to look all the time. But I think you guys do a really, really good job. You just got a really tough class here. Then the young lady that's going to round out the class, I think she does a really nice job as well. Probably has a sheep that just isn't quite as cooperative, doesn't want to stay still quite as much. Gives her a little bit of a hard time, but she does a really nice job as well. Let's give them all a big round of applause.
Our intermediate grand champion is Haley Roy. Our reserve is Garen Lawson. Third, Cameron Hayes. Fourth, Payson Varner. Fifth, Gavin Stuchel. And sixth, Veda Walsh. I'm sorry, Claire Foley. I'm sorry, Claire. Now we're ready for our first class of junior division. We have 2 classes of juniors. In our first class, we have Blake Burke, Abigail Klein, Kendall Roy, Brantley Ames, Sadie Funk, Malin Gibson, and Hunter Swanson.
Okay, let's go ahead and give all the showmen in this class a big round of applause. We're going to keep the 3 young ladies that were pulled over to this side, and we'll bring the other heat in.
Coming back for our overall junior drive will be Abigail Klein, Kendall Roy, and Hunter Swanson. Now we're ready for our second class of juniors. I need Isabel DeBerry, Maylee Hayes, Olivia Kelly, Jenny Peasley, Addison Rodeheaver, and Aubrey Stemple.
give this group here a big round of applause. Another really good group of showmen.
Coming back from Class 2 for our overall drive will be Maylee Hayes, Addison Rodeheaver, and Aubrey Stemple. Okay, we're ready for our overall drive of junior showmen. I need Abigail Klein, Kendall Roy, Hunter Swanson, Maylee Hayes, Addison Rodeheaver, and Aubrey Stemple. This will be for our Grand in Reserve overall junior showmen. I would like to take this time to thank our sponsors for the Buckwheat Festival this year. Our platinum sponsors include the Preston County Livestock Association, Street Store, Preston Contractors, Prodigy Digital, Snyder Heating and Cooling, Billstone Excavating, Preston Farmers Market, Schrupp Farm Equipment, the Lennox Loyal Workers, Farm Credit of the Virginias, Fraternal Order of Eagles, Eglin Mountaineers 4-H Club, and Cranberry Medical Clinic. Thank you to our platinum sponsors. Our gold sponsors include Kevin and Samantha Stone, Bakeville Enterprises, Valley Pharmacy, Bill and Cindy Shockey, Joe and Crystal Dean, ACI Lear Mine, Child's Feed and Supply, and Cell Enterprises. Thank you so much, gold sponsors, for your support of the Buckwheat Festival. And our silver sponsors are the Preston County CEOs, Sandy Powell's 4-H Club, and John and Nicole Peasley. Again, thank you all so much for sponsoring the Buckwheat Festival this year. We also have some volunteers to thank and our behind-the-scenes donations. The Kingwood Volunteer Fire Department, PCLA officers and directors, the Barn and Show chairman, our auctioneers, the Extension Office, Nick Volk, Stone Paving, Stephanie Arnett with Charm Flower, Mountain Digital Hometown TV, Prodigy Fiber to Home, the LEC Market, BFS, Tractor Supply, Freedom Ag and Energy, Valley Point Farmers Feed and Supply, Affordable Signs, Samantha Stone, and Triple P Meats. Please join me in thanking all of our volunteers behind the scenes and our sponsors for this year's Buckwheat Festival.
interesting class. I think really tough class. I think all 6 of them, and like I talked to the 3 that we kind of pulled out at the beginning a little bit. I think all of them do some things really, really well to get out here. I think all of them, just being a little bit younger, I think it's a little bit more of a challenge to get some things put together and get the sheep looking the way they need it to all the time. The young lady that we're going to start out with, that lamb is pretty hard to show, just in terms of when we go one direction, that lamb doesn't want to walk, and I'm not really holding that against her, obviously, since I used her to win the class. Sometimes sheep just get like that when they get out in the ring. And then he's has a tendency to be a little bit hyper. She kind of stays with him, and when she gets that sheep set up, I think when we get him stopped kind of all 3 times, where we were over here, then we were over there, she gets that sheep put together the best from the side, does the best in terms of just keeping the head up, getting that sheep braced. Obviously, I'd like to see it done a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient, but once she gets it there, she gets that sheep looking the best of anybody in the ring. So I'm going to go ahead and roll with her at the top. Then we get into second and third, and I think you 2 do some things really well. The young lady that's going to be second, I think just in terms of being smooth, in terms of being calm, you do a really good job with that. I think comparatively to that young lady ahead of you, there was just a lot of times where that lamb, when we get into him and when I'm looking at him, there's some legs that aren't set. He kind of wants to pull back. He's just not as consistent. I know she had a little bit of trouble getting her sheep set up just when we first get there, but once she gets it, that sheep kind of stayed, looked apart the entire time. We just need a little bit more consistency throughout the whole thing, just need that. And then the young lady that's in third here, I think at times you probably have the most intensity, you get the most brace out of anybody in the class, and we really, really like that. But over the course of the class, you kind of get a little bit too relaxed sometimes. You let that sheep's just whole head, whole front end kind of drop a little bit. The sheep will kind of move some legs. You probably do the best job when we first get around the ring every time of just initially setting that sheep and getting that sheep put together the fastest. But then the more we go on and the more we kind of stand there and watch, you kind of let that sheep fall apart a little bit more than anybody else. Just pay just a little bit more attention, keep that intensity the entire time. I think at times, like I said, you give me the best look, but then we just need to keep that more consistent throughout the entire class. But you do a nice job as well. And then as we work down into the next 3 showmen, I talked to each one of them individually. I think for junior showmen, I think all these kids did a really, really nice job. And I think, just on a different day where the lambs are kind of working different, this class could be all kind of flipped around. I think all 6 of them do a really nice job. Let's give them all a big round of applause as they exit.
Grand Champion Junior Showman goes to Maylee Hayes. Reserve Champion Junior Showman is Aubrey Stemple. 3rd place, Hunter Swanson. 4th, Abigail Klein. 5th, Kendall Roy. And 6th, Addison Rodeheaver. Now we're ready for our overall Master Lamb Showman. This includes our grand champions from today and also our previous champions from previous years. So I need Colson Manco, which is our senior champion. I need Haley Roy, which is our grand champion in our intermediate. And Maylee Hayes, that was our grand champion junior showman. And I need Brooklyn Castile, which is our champion showman from 2022.
As we come back out here for the Master Showman, we've got the three class winners and then another showman out here that we haven't seen before. I think she does a really, really good job. I think, coming in cold into a Master Showmanship class, not showing in another class, puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage. I think when we got out here that first time, probably had just a little bit of trouble getting that sheep exactly the way you wanted her. When we get her over here, I think you do a good job as anybody just at getting her set up once you kind of settled in a little bit here. But today for champion, I think there's one showman that kind of came out of the toughest group, the toughest class. She comes back out here and does a really good job again. The young lady in the middle there is going to be your champion.
Master Champion Showman is Haley Roy. Congratulations, Haley. That concludes our showmanship portion for our market lambs. Now we're going to head on into our market lamb show. In our lightweight division, class 1, I need Madison Dumeyer, tag 212, Sadie Funk, tag 222, Olivia Kelly, tag 238, and Cora Fife, tag 215. These lambs weigh 100 to 107.
As we move into our first class of market lambs here, I think the one that comes out and wins the class, I think does so just from the standpoint of just being a little bit better built in terms of his front end, just in terms of his balance. I think that's the big advantage. I think when you get into all three of the top three here, 1, 2, and 3, I think just in terms of mass and width and power, I think they're all fairly similar. Obviously, the younger lambs that need a little bit more time on feet to just mature. But I think he does the best job of balancing out just in terms of being a little taller at the point of his shoulder, being a little bit better in terms of his chest floor. That's a nice lamb to go ahead and start off. The ewe lamb here, that's going to be in second. I think if one does have a little bit of advantage in these three, just in terms of width, it's her. She probably is just a little bit bigger there in terms of rib cage. But with that, she gets a little bit deeper. She gets a little bit lower in terms of her front end. I'd like to see her balance up just a notch better in terms of that upper hip, that stifle. We just need a little bit more shape to go in that rear 1/3 as compared to that front end. But I think that's a nice shape there as well. And then we get down into the lamb that's going to be in third. I think this is another really nice lamb just in terms of being square on those feet and legs, one that's long, one that's fairly level. Probably just needs some more time, some more muscle to really mature. And just give a little bit better just look for a market lamb. And then we get down into one that's going to round out the class. I think just in terms of width, in terms of being big on his feet and legs, and wide, he probably has the advantage in this class. But when we just get him out and kind of get him in motion, get him on the side view, he's the most moderate. He's just the shortest in the way that he's built. He's the roundest off of both ends of the skeleton. I think if we could just stretch him out, fix him from that standpoint, that's a ewe lamb that has quite a bit of muscle. Let's go and give them all a big round of applause.
First place and first place county bred is Cora Fike. Second place and our second place county bred is Olivia Kelly. Third, Madison Dumeyer, and fourth, Sadie Funk. Lightweight class 2, I need Carolee Foltz, tag 221. Lainey Ramada, tag 232. Addison Brodeheaver, tag 244. Blake Burke, tag 204. And Cora Fike, tag 214. These lambs weigh 108 to 115.
Yell for Cora Flake.
I'm right here.
Cora.
I'm not Cora Flake. Blake Burke and Caroline Foltz.
Blake Burke is out there.
I need Blake Burke to the ring with tag 204, please. And I need Carolee Foltz with tag 221.
Blake's in there.
Blake's in there. Okay, who are we gonna?
Thank you.
Okay, Carolyn's here.
No, new one.
Right here. Okay.
This is your class.
As we move into the second class here, I think an interesting group. I think a lot of just different kind of types and kinds, and I guess different stages in terms of maturity. I think a pretty easy place to start is the ewe lamb. We're going to start with. That's probably the easiest decision in this class. I think she puts the most together, just in terms of one that's good in terms of being square on her feet and legs, good in terms of balance, and has enough muscle and has a little bit of finish to her. I think that's a nice ewe lamb to go ahead and start this class. Then we get down into second, third, fourth. I think this is probably your closer decisions there. This ewe lamb is going to be in second. She is the widest base. She's the stoutest at the ground. She's got a lot of muscle there. With that, she's also the boldest in her shoulder. She's the shortest, just about her neck, and the lowest at the point of her shoulder there. I'd really like to change just the way that whole front end is put together. But I think from there back, she's plenty acceptable. She excels the class in terms of muscle. We're going to go ahead and put her in second today. Then we get into third and fourth, and these two lambs are fairly similar, just in terms of ones that are a little bit longer bodied. They're probably a little bit later maturing. These lambs really need a little bit more just in terms of time and feed to go ahead and just mature and mass up. I think the difference between these two, this one and third, is probably just a little bit smoother in terms of that top line, in terms of that hip line juncture. I think that one's just put together just a notch better than the one that's going to be fourth. And I think two really nice lambs there as well. And then the one we're going to round out the class with, I think just gets a little bit frailer at the ground, probably just not as level and as good in terms of that top line. But I think a lamb that has some width, has some muscle to it. Young man's doing a nice job. Let's give them all a big round of applause.
First place, Addison Rudiheater. Second, Carolee Foltz. Third, Lainey Ramada. Fourth, Cora Fike, and Cora is our first place county bred. And fifth, Blake Burke. Now we're ready for class 3 of our lightweights. I need Brooklyn Castillo with tag 207, Isabel DeBerry, tag 210, Claire Foley, tag 217, Aubrey Stemple, tag 250, and Caitlin Kelly, tag 236. These lambs weigh 116 to 125.
As we move into the next class, I think one that maybe gets a little bit easier to sort. The one that we're going to win with, once again, I think handles this class fairly easily, just in terms of I guess the biggest advantage this one has is just extra balance. I think she's a little bit better just in terms of her front end, in terms of her top line. One that runs uphill, one that's built really good there. When you get on top of her, I think she's plenty wide enough. There's plenty of muscle and mass there. I think if we were going to get a little bit critical of her, probably just there over her pin bones, out over her upper hip, down into her stifle. Probably like to see just a little bit more there, just to see her balance just a notch better. But I think that's a really nice sheep. Then we get into a pair of weathers here in second and third. And I think are probably your closer pair in this class. I think these sheep are both very similar. You get right on top of them and handle them. Really big in terms of their rib shape, good over their loins and out over their hip. I think the biggest difference between the two, the one we're going to go ahead and put in second, that lamb's just a little bit longer in terms of the spine, in terms of the skeleton. He's a little bit taller at the point of his shoulder, better in his chest floor. With that, he probably gives up just a little bit of shape from right behind, especially from this angle here. He's not as deep down in that twist, down in that stifle, but I think he gives a little bit better look. When we get him out in motion, I think his top line, everything stays together just a notch better. This lamb that's going to be in third, like I said, just in terms of muscle and mass, you really like this sheep. He has probably the class advantage if you get right in behind him, from right behind that upper hip, that lower stifle. He's probably got, he looks like he's got some type of white faces influence in him, and that, when we go to handle him, he's probably the softest one to handle in this class. He's probably got the most condition on him. We're still lightweight. He's still not fat. He's still good. Probably just like to clean him up from that regard a little bit. Then we get to the ewe lamb that's going to be fourth place here. This is a nice ewe, just in terms of one that's square on her feet and legs. I think in relation to the three that are ahead of her, just kind of runs out of gas just in terms of muscle. I think you've done a really good job of getting her presented. She looks really good. We just need more in a tough class here. Then we get down to a little natural colored weather that's going to round out the class. This one has the advantage over a lot of the sheep in this class, just in terms of length, in terms of height of shoulder. But with that, when we get right in behind him, get on top of him and handle it, he's the narrowest, he's the lightest muscle within this group. Nice group of lambs all the way down through.
First place, Brooklyn Castile. Second place with our first place county bred is Caitlin Kelly. Third, Aubrey Stemple. Fourth, with our second place county bred is Claire Foley. And fifth place is Isabel DeBerry. So now we're ready for our lightweight division champions. I need Cora Fike with tag 215. Addison Brody Heaver with tag 244. And Brooklyn Castile with tag 207. Those are our first place lambs. Our second place lambs, I need Olivia Kelly, tag 238. Carolee Foltz, tag 221. And Caitlin Kelly with tag 236. I also need on standby Claire Foley, if you will stay close just in case for county bred. I need Cora Fike with your 214 on deck for county bred.
As we get out here for your lightweight division, I think a nice group here. I think as we work up into the classes, I think it gets a little bit tougher. I think that there's one out here that wins fairly easily. And then for reserve, I think it gets just a little bit closer between two of them. It just comes down to, I guess, some personal preference and probably a little bit of freshness. That splits that pair for me. Your champion is going to be the young lady out of this heaviest class, and your reserve is going to be the class winner of the class before that.
Okay, wait. I missed it. What happened? Wait. Somebody. Hold on. I don't know what just happened. Okay, who just got green? Okay, because we had 7 sheep out there. Something wasn't right.
She's showing for fight.
So Brooklyn, and then who was reserved?
If you were counting right first and second, you mean still
Who did you pick for as the reserve of that group?
the road he was on.
Okay.
I'm trying to this was first counting now.
Okay, lightweight champion is Brooklyn Castile, and reserve lightweight champion is Addison Rodeheater. Now for county bred, we need Cora Fike with tag 215,
That's what it was.
Olivia Kelly tag 238,
She was first. She was here.
Cora Fike tag 214,
She was here for county.
Caitlin Kelly tag 236,
County bred.
and Claire Foley tag 217.
First of county bred. Yeah, but she was first in this, but she was first in county bred. Right? She went in
So
that one.
Payson was out there. Is that
Payson for Cora
Payson for
Fike.
Cora's land.
It was actually Claire with Cora's land. We thought we were taking county bred at the same time they did that one.
Oh,
What class is this out of?
yes.
Right.
When they're the same. But
Okay.
this is really not the same at all. For lambs, we have a lot that aren't county bred, so then it just makes it really complicated.
So you have to do one and then the second
Yes.
one. Okay, that was
Because like
confusing.
Cora's is the 4th place lamb, but she was 1st place county
Yes.
bred. So
I thought it was all at the same time.
It's okay. I was just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know the wrong people did it. We're clearly not going to change it. She wasn't
Right,
out there.
right.
Same with third place for class 2.
There isn't one. There is one. Okay.
This is your class.
For the county bred here, we bring out a couple lambs that we already had out here before. Kind of had mine made up a little bit. There's one out here that was, in contention for that division overall. We're going to go ahead and use that one. The young lady right here in the heaviest class will be your champion. And then for reserve, I think there's another lamb that just, in terms of type and kind, being a really nice lamb, just the way it's put together, the way it's built. We're going to use that lightest lamb for your reserve.
Lightweight county bred champion is Caitlin Kelly. Lightweight reserve champion is Cora Fike. We're ready to start our medium weight classes. Medium weight class 1, I need Carson Belanger, tag 203. Brantley Ames, tag 200. Kendall Roy, tag 248. Haley Roy, tag 246. Claire Foley, tag 216. Kylie Frankhauser, tag 219. And Olivia Kelly, tag 239. These lambs weigh 126 to 131. We're still waiting on one entry, Judge.
Does she know or do I need to announce it? Yeah. Do you need me to announce for her? Or did somebody win?
Need Olivia Kelly with tag 239.
I think a nice class to sort through here. I think there's 3 of them that kind of surface to the top within this group. The one we're going to start out with, I think he goes ahead and wins this class fairly handily, just in terms of the muscle shape, the expression he has. I think he still balances up fairly well. Obviously, he gets a little bit tough to look at because he's lost a lot of his leg wool, so it makes him look probably a little bit frailer than some of these others. Definitely that one that's right behind him. But I think his big advantage, when you get right on top of him, he's the best in this class right there, specifically over his loin. He's really wide, really big and flat right there. And then I think with that, he still balances up fairly well. Then we get into a lamb that's in second here, and this lamb here, a lot of the same. You could say that he's a little bit stouter there at the ground. He has a lot of extra fuzz there. And then when we get on top of him, I think he's good there in his rack, and as we work back, he's just not as wide. He's not as square right there over his loin. And he just doesn't have the shape there in his upper hip down on his stifle. We get him out in motion compared to that class winner. He gets rounder, he gets shorter, his hip doesn't stride out quite as well. But that's a nice lamb to go ahead and be second there. Then we get into a ewe lamb here in third place. And I think that one's similar just in terms of muscle shape and power is that one right ahead of it in second there. The biggest difference, I think this one, when we get it out and get it in motion, that one doesn't hook up as well there in that hip loin. And I think of those top 3, this one gives up the most just in terms of width and shape right over that pin set down into that lower stifle. But that's a really nice ewe lamb, especially there in her front 2/3 of her body. Her rib shape, her back is really, really good. Stands on a good set of feet and legs. A nice ewe to go ahead and round out that top 3. Then we get into a lamb here in fourth. And this one, probably when you get right over top of him and handle him, he's as wide and massive as anything in this class, just right down his rack and over his loin. It's when we get him out and we get him into motion. I'd say he's probably the shortest and most compact sheep in this class. I just like to stretch out his entire skeleton, just loosen him up a little bit. But that's one that has quite a bit of muscle. Then we get into a lamb here that's going to be coming next, a wether that of these ones that are rounding out the class, a little bit longer outline, probably the most elevated there in terms of shoulder and point of the shoulder. I think the biggest thing is when we get in and just handle him, there's just not enough muscle, not enough just width and shape to go ahead and move up any higher in this class. Then we get into a white face influence sheep here. And this one, I like a lot of things about him, just in terms of the way he's built. He's square built, he's good on his feet and legs. But when we get a hold of this one, by far has the most to it in terms of finish and condition. We just need to kind of clean that sheep up a little bit compared to some of these ones ahead of him. And then we're going to round out the class with one that's big bodied, one that's done well for him. We just need this one to... Okay, there we are. We just need this one to balance up a little bit better, just be a little bit stouter there at the ground. But a nice sheep. Let's go ahead and give this young man a round of applause.
First place, Haley Roy. Second, Kendall Roy. Third, with our first place county bred, Olivia Kelly. And Olivia will need you to stay up here on deck. Fourth place and our second place county bred is Carson Belanger. Carson, we're going to need you to stay on deck for county bred later. Fifth place, Kylie Frankhauser. Sixth, Claire Foley. And seventh, Bradley Ames. Class 2, medium weight, I need Kylie Frankhauser, tag 218. Sadie Funk, tag 223. Eli Johnson, tag 235. Veda Walsh, tag 258. And Caitlin Kelly, tag 237. These lambs weigh 132 to 135.
I think an interesting class here, one that's a little bit more difficult to sort out. The two sheep we're going to end up with at the top, I think really just excel the class just in terms of muscle, in terms of mass, in terms of width. When you handle these two, they're by far the widest, the squarest, the heaviest muscled right there in terms of rack shape, in terms of loin. This sheep that we're going to go and start out with, I think has the advantage just in terms of the way its hip and its hind leg is built compared to this one that's in second. This lamb in second, you get right on top of that one. That one is really big in terms of that rib cage, wide over that loin, gets quite a bit shorter there over that hip, and as we track out of the ring. And then overall, I think comparatively to about anything else in the class, that lamb's a little bit shorter, a little bit more compact, but I think that sheep's still built fairly well and has enough muscle, enough extras to go ahead and stay at the top of this class. Then we get into a lamb that's in third, and really all three of these that we're going to kind of round out the class with, they just give up a little bit just in terms of muscle and width and shape comparatively to the ones ahead of them. And they just kind of get sort of off a build from there. This lamb that's going to be in third is probably the best in the class just in terms of that front end, the elevation, in terms of chest floor, in terms of height of shoulder. But then as we work back, this lamb just doesn't have much to it in terms of its top shape. He probably needs a little bit more time to go ahead and mature, go ahead and fill out a little bit more. But I think the outline of that sheep is really nice. Then we get into one here in fourth. And this one is kind of similar. He's a little bit frailer, a little bit narrower at the ground. And I think in relation to that one right ahead of him, gets just a little bit rounder just in terms of his hip shape, in terms of his shoulder and the way that's put together. But at the end of the day, it just needs a little bit more muscle to go ahead and move up. And then we're going to round out the group with, I think it's probably just the most off balance of these three. I appreciate this one for the length that it has. This one handles pretty good down that top for what's there. We just need more of it. Let's go ahead and give them all a big round of applause. Another nice class.
First place, Vader Walsh. Second, with our first place county bred, is Kylie Frankhauser. Third, with our second place county bred, is Caitlin Kelly. Fourth, Eli Johnson. And fifth, Sadie Funk. Now we're ready for class 3. I need Eli Johnson, tag 234. Brooklyn Castile, tag 206. Bailey Hayes, tag 228. Payson Garner, tag 256. Scarlett Hayes, tag 230. Jenny Peasley, tag 242. And Hunter Swanson, tag 254. These lambs weigh 137 to 141. Caitlin Kelly with 237. Make sure you stay on deck for county bred overall.
Yeah, I just said for Caitlin Kelly to not go too far. She needs to stay on
As we get into this class here, this is a really, really good class. This is probably not the class you came to the fair and wanted to be in because these lambs out in third, fourth, fifth place probably could have won the majority of the classes we've had so far today. Just a really, really good class, really good top end. With that, I think just kind of the more we study it, the more we look at it, this top end breaks down fairly easily and just fairly logically. This lamb that's going to win the class, he has just so many class advantages, just in terms of just width and stoutness. He's really, really good. I think in terms of balance, he's really good. When we get on top of him and handle him, everything's square, everything feels really, really good on that top. I think that one or two advantages that lamb in second has, he's probably just a notch fresher than this lamb we're going to lead off with, just in terms of his touch and his tone. And that lamb's probably just a little bit neater in terms of his front end, in terms of his chest floor, just a tick longer body. But with that, he's a little bit fresher. But with that, he's a little bit leaner. He probably needs a little bit more to him just to go ahead and pop, just to get a little bit extra width. But I think that's a really, really nice pair of lambs that goes together fairly well, just in terms of type and kind. And then this ewe lamb that we get in third place, like I said, in the toughest class of the day, I think this ewe lamb probably wins about any other class that she's in so far. When we get in with these weathers, it gets a little bit tougher for the ewe lambs, especially getting later in the year. They probably don't stay together just in terms of their condition quite as well. This one's starting to get a little bit plainer in terms of that front end, in terms of the way that neck comes out of that shoulder. Then we get on top of her. She's got the most on her of anything within this top five in terms of just condition. And I think the biggest thing, she just runs out of gas in terms of just balance compared to those two weathers. She's getting a little bit deeper, a little more mature in that front end. And probably just doesn't have the pop and just the shape right there in her upper pin set that we see in those two weathers. But that's a really nice ewe lamb to go ahead and be third. Then we get into fourth and fifth. We get a pair of weathers here that you like a lot of things about. They both balance really well. They're built really good. Get around good on their feet and legs. In this class, you just ran into a really, really tough class with some sheep ahead of you that just have more to them in terms of muscle. Probably a little bit more there in terms of maturity. I think both of these sheep, even though they look good, they're presented good, another 20, 30 days on feed just to get a little bit more out of them probably wouldn't hurt them. I think these are two really nice lambs that just kind of got in a tough group here. And then the ones we round out with, these are nice lambs as well. You guys have both done a good job of feeding them. They're good in terms of their balance, pretty good in terms of their structure. Just don't have quite the extras in terms of what we need in the show ring to go and compete in this class. But a really good class. Let's go and give that whole group a big round of applause.
First place, Brooklyn Castile. Second, and our first place county bred is Maylee Hayes. Third, with our second place county bred is Hunter Swanson, and Hunter will need you to stay on deck for county bred overall, please. Fourth place, Payson Varner. Fifth, Scarlett Hayes. Sixth, Jenny Peasley, and seventh, Eli Johnson. This is our last class of medium weight. I need Payson Varner, tag 255. Carson Belanger, tag 202. Cameron Hayes, tag 226. Colson Manco, tag 240. Kendall Roy, tag 247. And Addison Rodeheaver, tag 243. These lambs weigh 142 to 146. parked back here behind the barn, in the grass, in the fire lane. That car needs moved, please. Again, a silver Hyundai SUV right behind the cow palace in the grass. It's in the fire lane. We need that car moved, please. Thank you.
I think another really good class here, especially in the top two, and then even as we work down into 3 and 4, I think those are really nice lambs there. This top pair, I like a lot of things about both of them. I think they both, we get them out here, they handle really good. I think they're both fresh, both presented really well. I think the biggest difference for me between the two, the one that we're going to go ahead and win with, probably just comes down to balance. I think that sheep's just a tick longer. That sheep's just a little bit taller in terms of that point of shoulder. And I think that carries through, especially in that underline. I think that sheep's better in terms of its chest as we work back to its flank. Just that notch, a little bit extra length to hip and stride in that back leg, I think just gives that sheep a little bit of extra look. That sheep probably is a little bit lean. He could have a little bit more on him, just kind of bulk him up. And I think that would really kind of excel him in the class, because that's the question I have is right there, just in his loin. He's probably not quite as impressive as he is there in his rack, and there just over his pin and down into his leg. I mean, that sheep is really hard. I just don't know if he's as full and as big in his loin as we need him to be. The sheep that's in second has a little bit more on him in terms of condition, and I think that's fine, and he's still really good and really fresh. And I think when we get just right over him in terms of handling him, I think he's really big, he's really square. He might be just a little bit more massive just in terms of actual base width than that sheep that's ahead of him. But this one here, I think when we get him out and we get him in motion specifically, that sheep wants to drop just a little bit in terms of his front end, in terms of his chest floor. He's just a notch shorter in terms of his hip and how he gets out in strides compared to that class winner. But once again, I think two really nice lambs to go ahead and start out the class. Then we get into another wether here that's in third. This is a nice lamb. Just kind of runs into two that just have a lot more extras than what he does. I think this one's really complete. When you just analyze him by himself, he's good on his feet and legs. Balances up really well. Just when we get a hold of him, there's just not as much there, just in terms of shape and expression and mass. He just gets a little bit plainer in his overall makeup, his overall build. But that's a sheep that we really like. Then we get into one that's in fourth, and a lot of the same things can be said about this one that's in third. This one here is just a lot farther behind in terms of maturity. He just needs a lot more on him. He probably needs another month just to go ahead and mature and get some more mass to him. But in terms of an outline, you really like the way that sheep's built. And then we're going to round out the class with a couple wethers that just get a little bit softer to the touch, get a little bit plainer just in their muscle shape. But once again, a really nice class, one of the deeper classes we've had throughout the entire day. Let's give them all a big round of applause.
First place, Payson Varner. Second, Kendall Roy. Third, Cameron Hayes. Fourth, Colson Manco. Fifth, Addison Rudigeber. And sixth, Carson Belanger. And Carson is our first place county bred. So Carson, we're going to need you to hang out back here on deck, please. We're ready for our medium weight overall champion in reserve drive. I need our first place lamb of Haley Roy, tag 246. First place from Veda Walsh, tag 258. First place, Brooklyn Castile, 206. And our first place from Payson, tag 255. Then on the other side of the ring, I need our second place from Kendall Roy, tag 248. Kylie Frankhauser, tag 218. Maylee Hayes, tag 228. And Kendra Roy, tag 247. Then on deck, back here, we need Olivia Kelly with 239 on deck. I need Carson Belanger with 203 on deck. I need Caitlin Kelly, tag 237 on deck. I need Hunter Swanson with 254 on deck. And I need Carson Belanger with 202 on deck, please.
Is there any county bred chicken?
First place is me. Second place is us. So Kylie Frankhauser is second place in the So she wins. And then me is
I'm excited to see how Dan does.
21653. And then the problem is 2. You need any more?
As we bring this middleweight drive back out here, really stepped up the competition within this group. And I think the class winners out here are all very nice. And then those last two classes, like I said, just the depth really came up within those groups. And I think out of those two, four really nice representatives here at the back. I think for champion, it's fairly easy for me. I think there's one that comes out and just excels in a lot of ways in terms of kind of being the combination And then I think from there for reserve, I think it gets quite a bit closer. I think there's some differences. At the end of the day, I think there's one sheep that probably just ties together a little bit better. That's where I'm going to go ahead and go for reserve. For champion today, the one out of class 3 is going to be your champion, and then the winner out of class 4 is going to be your reserve.
Our medium weight Grand Division champion is Brooklyn Castillo, and our medium weight reserve champion is Payson Garner. Now we're ready for our county bred medium weight division drive. I need Olivia Kelly, tag 239. I need Kylie Frankhauser, tag 218. Maylee Hayes, tag 228. And Carson Belanger, tag 202 on one side. The other side, I need Carson Belanger with tag 203, Caitlin Kelly with tag 237, and Hunter Swanson with tag 254. And we do not have a county bred second place in class 4. So only 7 lanes.
As we bring these back out for your county bred, I think there's a pair of them out here. They're not necessarily super similar to each other, but they both came out of really, really tough class, and I think they excel this group out here. Those two from class 3 are going to be your grand reserve.
Our medium weight county bred grand champion goes to Maylee Hayes, and our medium weight reserve champion goes to Hunter Swanson. All right, we're ready for our heavyweight classes. We have 4 classes. I need Maylee Hayes with tag 229, Brantley Ames tag 201, Maylin Gibson tag 225, Jenny Peasley, tag 241. Haley Roy, tag 245. These lambs weigh 147 to 149.
interesting pair at the top of this class, and I apologize for taking some time on this pair. I think these sheep, both of them, when they hit the ring, they really catch you. They're presented really, really well. I think both these young ladies, obviously they both won showmanship classes. They're doing a really good job getting them put together, getting them presented. From there, I like a lot of things about both of these lambs. I think they're very different, opposite ends of the spectrum of where they're at right now. It's just kind of in my head, kind of prioritizing and putting that all together. The lamb we're going to go ahead and start off with, his big advantage is he is just a lot stouter. He's a lot stouter, he's a lot wider. There's a lot more there just in terms of shape and muscle and mass and power. And that's his big advantage, and that's what wins it for him at the end of the day. My biggest problem with this lamb is just I'd like him to be a lot fresher. He handles fine, but his skin quality is just probably not exactly where I would like it to be. He's probably just not softer than I would like. But when you get right in behind him, you do it from the front, just in terms of his face width, from either end of the skeleton, and then when you get a hold of him, by some margin, he's quite a bit wider, he's quite a bit more massive. And then with that, I'm reading him to be more mature. I would say he's older, he's farther along in terms of his growth pattern. But for his age and for being a little bit more mature, a little bit farther down, when she gets him set up, gets him going like that, this sheep is still built better in his front end and his shoulder and his chest floor than this one that's in second. He's probably not as long and just as goosey neck there as this one that's going to go ahead and be second. But I think for as mature and as big as he is, he still keeps it all together, good enough to go and win this class. This one that is going to go ahead and be second, just in terms of freshness, like a skin quality, this sheep's quite a bit better. But then when we get right on top and we get a hold of him, he's just disappointing in terms of the actual mass and muscle and power that he has. He's quite a bit flatter there in his rib cage, in terms of his loin, in terms of his upper hip and his pin. And I read that to be a little bit of immaturity. If I had to guess, I'd say he's a younger lamb that's kind of fed fresh. That one's an older one that's kind of held in. I just don't think this lamb got enough to him. And I don't think he has enough extras in terms of his look. He is a little bit longer in terms of his neck set, maybe a little taller at the point of his shoulder, a little bit longer in terms of the skeleton. But when we get him out in motion, when we get him propped up here, he's still longer in terms of his blade. He's deeper in terms of his chest floor than that lamb that's going to go ahead and win the class. But that's being really critical and really picky of two lambs that I like quite a great deal. Let's give both those young ladies a big round of applause. Then we get down into a group that's going to kind of round out the class. We have a lot of differences here. There's a natural lamb that's going to go ahead and be third. And I think just from a freshness and squareness standpoint, this one's the one that goes ahead and excels this group here. I think this one's quite a bit leaner, quite a bit better put together than the two that are going to round out the class. Then we get the black-faced lamb here. And once again, when we get on top of this lamb and handle him, really big rack, good over his loin. I think comparatively some of the ones ahead of him, a little bit further at the ground, doesn't balance up quite as well. Probably pushing past where he needs to be a little bit in terms of condition. Then the white-faced sheep are going to round out with just gets into a tough class of black-faced lambs, just don't have the muscle shape, the expression to go ahead and keep up with them. But a nice lamb. Let's go ahead and give them all a round of applause.
First place, Haley Roy. Second place, Maylee Hayes, and she is our first place county bred. Third place, Jenny Peasley, and she's our second place county bred. Fourth place, Brantley Ames. And fifth place, Malin Gibson. Our next class is going to be Abigail Klein, tag 208. Hunter Swanson, tag 253. Aubrey Semple, tag 249. Malin Gibson, tag 244. And Scarlett Hayes, tag 231. These lambs weigh between 150 and 152 pounds.
class here, one that breaks down fairly easily for me. The young lady that wins with this natty, I think within this class, I think really comes out and excels the competition just in terms of the one that is really massive, really stout, and with that one that's still built really well, still balances very, very nice. She's doing a good job getting shown. He's presented really well. Then we get into second, and I think this weather, second and third is probably your closest decision in this class. I think that weather has the advantage just in terms of handle, in terms of freshness. He touches really, really good. He's a little better just in terms of that front end, in terms of keeping that chest floor together. This ewe lamb, when we get right in just on top of her, she's probably a little bigger right there in her forerib, right there in her rack shape. Maybe just a little bit wider all the way throughout. But with that, she's getting a little bit more maturity. She's probably not quite as good looking when we get them off to the side, just in terms of the way her shoulder, her front end, her neck, and everything's built. Throws off her balance just a notch compared to those weathers. But that's a really nice ewe lamb to be third. Then we get into another ewe lamb that's going to go ahead and be fourth in this class. A lot of the same things. This one here is good and big right there in the rib cage. She just doesn't. She gets a little more compact. Everything's kind of shorter. Everything's a little rounder. We just need to lengthen her out, stretch her out a little bit to compete with those ones ahead of her. Then we get into another white face ewe lamb to round out the class. This one just kind of runs out of gas in terms of being one that has a little bit more to her in terms of condition. I think if we can clean that up, this one I think is built good in terms of her balance and being level down her top. Just doesn't have quite enough in terms of muscle to fat ratio to compete with some of those black face sheep. Let's give them all a round of applause.
First place, Hunter Swanson. Second, Aubrey Stemple. Third, Abigail Klein. Fourth, and our first place county bred, Scarlett Hayes. Fifth, and our second place county bred, Malin Gibson. Malin and Scarlett, I'm going to need you to be on standby for our overall county bred drive. Our Class 3 heavyweight, I have Isabel DeBerry, tag 211. Carolee Foltz, tag 220. Cameron Hayes, tag 227. Gavin Stuchel, tag 252. Veda Walsh, tag 257. And Abigail Klein, tag 209. These lanes weigh 156 to 160.
as we work into this heavier class here, I think two nice lambs to go ahead and start off. I think lambs that are very similar to each other, just in terms of the way they're built, in terms of their type and kind. Both of them are pretty stout. They're big-footed. They're presented really well. The big difference for me as the young lady that's going to win this class, that lamb probably just has a little extra shot of just length. It's fine. And that one's a little bit fresher, a little bit firmer when we get right on top of it and get a hold of it. But I think those are two really nice lambs to go ahead and lead off the class. Then we get into a pair here in third and fourth that are fairly similar. I like both of these sheep just in terms of the way they're built, in terms of their balance. Both of these sheep are a little leaner, probably just an ounce fresher than those right ahead of them. But with that, they get a little bit narrower. They just don't have quite the shape, quite the muscle. Just the overall, we get right on top of them, just a rib-shaped splatter right behind from the stifle and the upper hip. They're just a little bit flatter and narrower than those two we're going to lead off with. But two really nice lambs. They're doing a really good job getting them shown and presented. Then we get down into a couple at the bottom. You two are flipped. The little weather here, that's going to be fifth. I think that one probably has the advantage over the ewe lamb, just in terms of finish, in terms of freshness. That ewe lamb probably has a little bit of advantage, just in terms of width. But with that, she's the most overdone, just in terms of finish. Just needs cleaned up from that standpoint and freshened up a little bit. A nice class of lambs all the way down through. Let's give them a big round of applause.
First place, Abigail Klein. Second, Cameron Hayes. Third, Gavin Stuchel. Fourth, and our first place county bred, Veda Walsh. Fifth, and our second place county bred, Isabel DeBerry. And sixth, Carolee Fultz. We have one last class with a 177-pound lamb. Gavin Stuchel, tag 251.
Only a single entry in this class. A lamb that you like a lot of things about. He's really stout, really big at the ground in terms of his foot size. One that runs uphill and balances fairly well. When you get a hold of him for as big as he is, he's still fresh, still managed well, handles really well. You can tell he's getting a little bit older, a little bit more mature just in terms of his front end. I think in terms of his underline and his chest, that's where we fix him, just balance him up a little bit better. He's getting a little older, a little deeper there. Just like to see him balance just a notch better from that standpoint. But a really, really nice lamb. Go ahead and give this young man a round of applause.
First place, and our county bred first place, Gavin Stuchel. Now we're ready for our heavyweight overall drive. I need first place, Haley Roy, tag 245. First place from Hunter Swanson, tag 253. First place from Abigail Klein, tag 209. And our first place, Gavin Stuchel, tag 251. On the other side, in the ring, I need our second place, Maylee Hayes, tag 229. Our second place from Aubrey Stemple, tag 249. And our second place from Cameron Hayes, tag 227. On deck for county bred, I'm going to need Jenny Peasley with 241. Also on deck, I'm going to need Scarlett Hayes with 231 and Malin Gibson with tag 224. Also on deck, I'm going to need Veda Walsh with tag 257 and Isabel DeBerry with tag 211.
As we bring these back out for your heavyweight champion, I think another really good division. And in this division, I think we're kind of those lighter two classes. Obviously, I've pulled some of these lambs up to look at out of those. I think those are your tougher classes, especially at the top end. And I think the top of that other division was maybe high 30s to low 40s, and these are in the 40s. And you know, that's kind of where we're looking at. These are, you know, lambs that are here to compete and to win the whole show. And I think all three of these have done a really good job of just getting them out here, getting them presented. And these two class winners, there's some differences between the two. Like we talked about, the one in class, that was a really tough class, so we talked about that one a lot in detail. And I think that one, just from a stoutness and a shape standpoint, I don't think we've seen anything like that shape today. That lamb is getting a little bit older, a little bit more mature. His skin did feel better when he came back in. I think we probably worked on that between this and the drive. But he still probably isn't exactly where we need him, just in terms of the loin. He's just a notch rough there. And he's definitely showing in terms of his front end, in terms of being a little bit mature, a little bit bigger in terms of that shoulder. But just that width, that power, I think he's got some extras from that standpoint. Then we get to the natty that wins this other class here. And that one's one that gives you a really, really good look. They've done a really good job putting that lamb together, getting him fitted. His skin and hide and everything has felt as good as anything we've seen so far today. And I think that lamb probably is better just in terms of his front end, in terms of his shoulder once you get him cranked up and looking good, and then when we get him out in motion, I think he holds together just a notch better there. And probably his biggest advantage is right there in his hip loin. He ties a little bit better. He's just a notch longer hipped. With that, I think we get right on top of him. In terms of his forerib and his shape there, he's a little bit narrower. There's not as much there as that one that wins that first class. When we get right in behind him, there's not quite as much of him there. So I guess in my mind, the difference between these two is kind of where your priorities are in terms of is that one just too overpowering? Is this one just a little bit better looking, a little bit fresher? Today we're going to go ahead and use the natty for your champion. For your gold, we're going to use the lighter end.
Our heavyweight grand champion is Hunter Swanson. And our heavyweight reserve champion is Haley Roy. Now we're ready for our county bred. I need Maylee Hayes, tag 229. Scarlett Hayes, tag 231. Vega Walsh, tag 257. And Gavin Stuchel, tag 251 on one side. Then I need Jenny Peasley, tag 241, Malin Gibson, tag 224, and Isabel DeBerry, tag 211, please.
As we bring these back out for your county bred, I think there's a fairly easy champion out here. That's going to be the winner from that lightest class up there. Let's give her a round of applause. And then from there, I think it gets a little bit tighter. I think both these wethers out of these two heaviest classes, I think they're very similar just in terms of the way they're put together. I think there's a little bit of give and take. The one out of that class 3, probably just a little bit fresher, a little bit leaner at this point, a little bit better in terms of his front end. This natty that comes out of the last class, I think for as big as that lamb is, He's pretty stout. He probably doesn't balance up. He's probably not quite as good looking. So it's just kind of some give and take. I think for where we're at, just in terms of freshness, in terms of weight, we're going to go ahead and go with that one out of Class 3 for your reserve. Let's give them all a big round of applause.
Our heavyweight division grand champion goes to Maylee Hayes, and our reserve, Veda Walsh. Now we're ready for our overall grand champion market lamb, Buckwheat Festival 2025. So we need Brooklyn Castile, tag 207, Brooklyn Castile, tag 206, and Hunter Swanson, tag 253. Then our second place lambs, I need Addison Rodeheaver, tag 244, Payson Garner, tag 255, and Haley Roy, tag 245, please.
As we come here to the end, have all your divisions back out to pick your champion. I think it's been a really, really good show. I think everything out here is a really good representation, and I think especially when we got into those heavier divisions, really kind of turned up the heat. I'm sure you guys know, maybe you've been other places. I mean, there's lambs in here that can go compete at other places. I'm sure at jackpots, state level shows. I'm sure that there's kids out here that are really competitive on past here, so it's really good. I guess just make sure all the kids out here just thank whoever's helping you to get these lambs in your hands, whether they're getting them bred or helping you feed them or do whatever to get them out here because that's a really good set of sheep, and I guess what that tells me is I go to a lot of places and judge some county fairs, and this is a really good lineup out here. So it tells me that there's a lot of adults, a lot of people that are really helping these kids and doing a really good job. So just make sure to be thankful for all your opportunities out here, and I think it's been a really well-run show. Let's thank them for keeping everything moving, keeping the lambs and everything in here, and it's been really smooth. From there, I think, like I said, these last two divisions, I think just a lot of depth And I think that at the top we really have a couple lambs out here in that middleweight and that heavyweight division that all have some pieces and have some parts that could be in contention to go ahead and win this show. I think there's one of them that probably combines the most what we're looking for, just in terms of one that balances well, it's good looking, it's fresh, and also is just stout and round-bodied everywhere that we need it to be. And then for reserve, I think that there's one that most closely follows that, just in terms of one that's really good looking, really highly presented, really fresh. I'll go out and show you the two that I'm going to use for your Grand and Reserve.
Our overall grand champion market lamb, Buckwheat Festival 2025, is Brooklyn Castile. And our reserve champion, overall market lamb, Buckwheat Festival 2025, is Hunter Swanson.
I need one of each of those.
Now we're ready for our county bred overall, grand and reserve market lamb. I need Caitlin Kelly, tag 236. Maylee Hayes, tag 228. Maylee Hayes, tag 229. On the other side, I need Cora Pike, tag 215. Hunter Swanson, tag 254. And Veda Walsh, tag 257. I would also like to take this time to call to the ring Scarlett Hayes. Scarlett, if you're still in the barn, you don't need to bring your lamb, but if you could please come to the podium, we would like to present you with our rate of gain. Scarlett received rate of gain. Her lamb gained 0.75 pounds per day. Congratulations, Scarlett.
She already got her banner. Okay, that's fine. I was just looking at the season for long. Just a minute.
As we bring these back out for your county board, I think a good set of representatives, I think especially in these heavier classes, there was a couple lambs out here that were right there knocking on the door within their divisions to go ahead and be probably, I guess I didn't outright say it, but if we were picking a third in each division, I think these two heaviest ones would have been the third within each of their divisions. So we're going to go ahead and stick with those two. We're going to use this one from the middle for grand and the one from the heavy for reserve.